This happened a few months ago. I just moved into my new apartment, finally ready for a quiet life after a rough breakup. At first, it felt perfect. My art supplies were everywhere, and I had plans waiting to be brought to life. I thought I'd found a sanctuary. The first few weeks were calm. I worked, took breaks at the nearby park, and grabbed coffee from the cafe down the street. Then one day, I got a strange message on my art portfolio website. It was from someone I didn't know, saying, "I love the colors you use." I thought it was spam, but those messages kept coming. Each one was more unsettling than the last. They mentioned details about my life, like when I was at the park. "I saw you yesterday," one message said. I felt uneasy but thought maybe they had seen me, and it was no big deal. As the weeks passed, I got jumpier. I started looking over my shoulder on my walks home. I noticed odd things, too. One morning, my door was slightly open. I convinced myself I hadn't locked it. Another time, I left my window open, but it was shut when I got back. How did that happen? It got worse. Late one night, I sat at my computer, heart racing. Each time my phone buzzed, panic gripped me. The messages grew creepier. "The shadows in your work are beautiful," one read. How did they know about my current project that I hadn't even shared yet? I felt like someone was creeping around my life, then they turned threatening. "I see you," it said. I looked out my window, but no one was there. I started covering my webcam. I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching me. I tried to convince myself I was just being paranoid. Finally, I decided it was time to confront this stalker. Maybe it's someone I know, I thought. I sat down to write a response, my hands shaking. Before I could hit send, a new notification popped up. "I'm closer than you think." I froze. I felt an ice-cold chill in the room. Then, I heard a soft knock on my door. My heart raced. I didn't know what to expect. I paused for a moment, straining to listen. The world went quiet. Each step toward the door felt heavy. What would I find? Was it someone familiar, or a stranger? I inched forward and put my hand on the doorknob. I took a deep breath, my mind racing. As I opened the door, my heart was pounding in my chest. I had to know. Would I face something terrifying or just a simple misunderstanding? The door swung open slowly, revealing nothing but the dimly lit hallway outside. I peered into the shadows, straining to see if anyone was lingering. The air was heavy with tension, and I had to remind myself to breathe. My heart raced, and my palms felt clammy against the cool doorknob. "Hello?" I called out, my voice shaky. Silence answered back. I stepped into the hallway, feeling the chill of the floor seep into my feet. My apartment felt like a trap now, the shadows too deep, and the silence too loud. With each step, I braced myself for the unknown, wondering if my stalker was right outside my door. Every creak of the floorboards echoed in my mind. I glanced around and then carefully shut the door behind me. My instincts screamed for me to return to the safety of my apartment, but I needed answers. I edged forward, reaching the stairwell that led down to the building's entrance. The faint light flickered above me, making the surroundings feel even more ominous. Then, just as I reached the bottom, I heard it again, a soft sound, like a whisper. I froze. It was coming from the lobby. I hesitated, debating whether I should turn back or push on. My curiosity tugged at me, urging me to find out what was happening. Taking a deep breath, I moved toward the lobby, peering around the corner. Nothing looked out of the ordinary, just the usual furniture and a small front desk. Still, the air was thick with something unnameable. I inched closer. As I crossed the threshold, I spotted a slip of paper on the desk, partially hidden beneath a stack of mail. My heart pounded harder. Was it a note from my stalker? I approached it cautiously, glancing over my shoulder. The lobby was empty. I reached for the paper, my mind racing with possibilities. What if it was something sinister? But what if it was more communication from my stalker? I flipped it over, my hands trembling. The message was short but chilling: "I'm always watching you." A wave of nausea washed over me. Inexplicably, I felt a presence behind me. I spun around, but the lobby remained deserted. My breath quickened as I looked for a place to hide. The front exit was too far. I ducked behind the couch, my heart pounding against my ribcage. Then, suddenly, I heard footsteps. Someone was coming. I peered over the edge of the couch, praying it was just an unsuspecting neighbor. My heart thudded like a drum in my ears, drowning out any other sound. I watched a figure enter the lobby, silhouetted against the bright entrance. My blood ran cold as I recognized the shape. It was someone from the building. Someone I'd seen before. My eyes widened in fear. They were staring at the space where I hid. "Why are you hiding?" they called out, their voice smooth but laced with something I couldn't place. I felt my breath catch in my throat. I had to gather my thoughts. Could this person be my stalker? Or were they just innocent? I stammered, but the words wouldn't come. Every instinct told me to run. I ducked lower behind the couch, praying they wouldn't come any closer. Just a little more time, I thought. I can think of something. But my mind was racing, trapped in a whirlwind of panic. The figure stepped into the lobby, moving casually, as if they hadn't just scared the life out of me. "Seriously, I can see you," they said, glancing around as if the lobby were a stage and I, a poorly hidden actor. Their tone was light, even playful. My chest tightened. I had to get out of here. "Please. Just leave me alone," I whispered, hoping they would get bored and wander off. I was praying for a miracle when they took a few steps toward me, their eyes narrowing. "Come on, don't make this weird." "I just want to talk," they said, a hint of annoyance creeping into their voice. "Talk." My instincts screamed at me to run. I barely knew this person, they could be anyone. They could be my stalker. But then again, they could be harmless. I waited for the moment to spring up and bolt past them, but I remained frozen. Slowly, they came around the couch. With each step, I could see their face better, an unremarkable smile, the kind that looked friendly but felt unsettling. Something in the depths of their eyes hinted at malicious intent and made me uneasy. "Are you scared of me?" they asked, tilting their head as if playing a game. "You don't need to be. I see you all the time. You're interesting." I swallowed hard, trying to maintain some semblance of calm. What did they mean by that? Interesting felt too intimate, too familiar for someone who barely spoke to me. "What do you want?" I managed to ask, my voice shaking. "Just to get to know you better," they replied, stepping closer. "You're not like the others in the building. You keep to yourself." "Maybe because I want to," I snapped, my frustration bubbling over into fear. I needed to make an escape plan right that moment. "Chill out," they said, waving their hand dismissively. "I'm not a threat unless you make me one." I could hear the underlying tone of menace in their words. I felt small, cornered. Before I could think, I darted from my hiding place, dashing past them toward the exit. The glass doors were only a few steps away, and as I hurled myself toward freedom, I glanced back once. They hadn't followed yet. The lobby was eerily quiet again that I burst through the door and into the cool night. I didn't stop running until I reached the edge of the street, gasping for breath. Then, my attention was caught by a flash of movement from the corner of my eye. I turned, and my heart dropped. They were watching me from the lobby windows, their smile replaced by a dark glare. My stomach churned, and I felt the icy grip of fear wrap around me. I stumbled back, my mind racing. They were being serious. That's when I realized I was being hunted. I looked around, searching for somewhere safe, but all I could think was that I had to get out of sight. I spun on my heel and fled down the street, desperate to leave the building and that unsettling figure far behind. I didn't stop running until my lungs burned and my legs threatened to buckle. The streetlights blurred together as I moved, each one a fleeting reminder of where I'd escaped. There was no plan, just the primal urge to put as much distance between myself and that lobby as possible. After a few blocks, I slowed down, desperate to catch my breath. I leaned against a cold brick wall, my heart pounding in my chest. I closed my eyes for a moment, trying to think. I needed to figure out why they thought I was interesting. Why they felt comfortable pursuing me like this. Glancing around, I recognized a small cafe just up ahead. The neon sign flickered, offering a semblance of warmth that I desperately craved. I headed toward it, hoping to blend in with the few late-night customers huddled over tables. Once inside, I felt a tickle of anxiety. I sat in a corner, keeping my back to the wall, scanning the room for any sight of that unsettling figure. No one looked out of place. No one was staring. Still, I felt their presence, like a shadow lurking just outside the glass door that I forced myself to order coffee, my hands trembling slightly as I handed over cash. The barista greeted me with a smile, and for a moment, I wanted to believe there was still safety in the world. No one in this cafe knew about my stalker. They wouldn't understand the panic consuming me from the inside out. As I waited, I pulled out my phone, searching for any missed messages from the help forums I had joined last week. I hoped to find some reassurance, even tips on how to handle situations like mine. While scrolling, I saw it, a new message notification from an unfamiliar number. My heart dropped again. Could it be? I opened it, holding my breath. Nice night for a chat, isn't it? It read that I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. My palms were sweaty, I could hardly see the screen. I looked around again, half expecting that figure to materialize from the shadows. I quickly swiped my finger across the screen, blocking the number, but the feeling of being trapped washed over me. Did they know where I was? Did they follow me here? Anxiety prickled at the back of my mind. Could they be watching me now? I glanced around nervously, my focus darting from table to table, searching. No one seemed to care about me. Yet, the message hung over me like a cloud, suffocating and heavy. Then, I noticed something out of the corner of my eye. A figure stepped into the cafe, their face masked by a hood. My heart raced again, and panic surged through me. I stood up abruptly, my chair scraping against the floor. Just then, everything went dark. The lights flickered and then shut off completely, leaving the space shrouded in murky silence. A sense of dread settled over me that I wasn't just being stalked anymore. I was trapped. The darkness swallowed me. I couldn't see a thing, but my other senses sharpened. The smell of coffee lingered in the air, rich and familiar, but even that comfort felt tainted. I moved slowly, feeling for the table edges, trying to calm my racing heart. Is anyone there? I called out, my voice a faint whisper, swallowed by the void. No response. Just silence. My mind raced. Had the hooded figure done this? Were they lurking in the darkness, waiting for the perfect moment? I reached for my phone, attempting to use its light. The screen lit up with the new message still looming. Nice night for a chat, isn't it? Before I could think too hard about it, I turned on the flashlight. The beam cut through the dark cafe, illuminating empty tables and the barista standing frozen behind the counter. I scanned the room quickly, my breath hitching at the sight. The figure was gone. Just as I started to breathe again, a loud crash echoed through the cafe. It sounded like something heavy being knocked over. My heart dropped into my stomach. Someone or something was definitely in here with me. I moved toward the sound, my hands trembling as I pointed the flashlight into the shadows. My pulse hammered in my ears. I felt exposed, like every inch of me was on display. Once again, I called out. Hello? Is someone there? The only reply I got was a faint scraping noise followed by an unsettling chuckle that seemed to reverberate through the cafe walls. I froze. Was it there with me? I turned back, knowing I had to get out. The door was just a few feet away, but should I risk it? What if the figure was waiting for me outside? But I couldn't stay here. The barista hadn't moved, her eyes wide with fear, and I doubted she was much comfort now that a flicker of light sparked in the corner of my vision. My eyes snapped to it. The emergency lights flashed on, casting an eerie glow over the room. I could see the barista's face, pale and frightened. Then I noticed something else. A message was being typed on my phone that I raised the device and gasped. My fingers trembled as I read the new text, the blood draining from my face. Don't be scared. I'm just getting started. That's when I saw it. A shadow moving swiftly toward me, unnatural and dark. Panic surged through me. I had to run. I didn't think. I just ran. The flashlight flickered as I dashed past the barista, who still looked frozen in fear. I had no time to check if she was following me. The door loomed ahead, a beacon of escape. I sprinted for it, my heart pounding like a drum, urging me forward. Get out! I yelled, hoping she would follow. My hand grasped the cold metal handle, but it felt like it resisted me, as if it was holding on to something darker. The shadow was closer now, gliding just out of reach. I whipped around, shining the beam wildly in an attempt to catch it. My fingers trembled so much that the light danced erratically, casting strange shapes on the walls. I could feel it creeping up behind me, and the chill of its presence sent a wave of fear coursing through me. Before I could think, I threw my weight against the door. It gave way with a loud creak that echoed into the night. I stumbled out onto the sidewalk, my own breath filling the air in heavy gasps. But the relief was short-lived. There, standing just outside the threshold, was the hooded figure from before. My stomach dropped. This was not what I expected. They stood with their back to me, but I could see their fingers moving, typing again. The dim light from my phone illuminated the last few words before I could get away. You can't escape that easily. Hey! I called, voice thick with adrenaline. What do you want from me? But I didn't really want to know. I turned to bolt down the street, my legs pumping. The figure didn't move, but the chuckle echoed in my mind, mocking and sinister. I glanced over my shoulder, half expecting to see them gaining on me. But they didn't. Instead, they stood still, as if enjoying the scene. That I rounded a corner, still clutching my phone, desperate for any sort of help. The streetlights flickered overhead, casting eerie shadows of trees that seemed to stretch toward me. My back prickled with the sensation of being watched. With each step, I felt more exposed. I finally passed a small group of people, their voices muffled in the distance. I almost cried out for help, but what could I tell them? I was running from someone who wasn't really there, a ghost in the night, a menace made real through texts and darkness. Suddenly, my phone buzzed again. I hesitated, dread pooling in my stomach. But I couldn't ignore it. I took a deep breath and looked at the screen. A new message flashed. You're not alone. Look around. The hairs on my neck stood up. I turned, my heart racing again, expecting to see someone behind me. Instead, the street was empty. No figure. No one. Just the creeping shadows, taunting me. Then I felt it, cold fingers brushing against my wrist, pulling me backward. I didn't have time to scream. I was yanked into the darkness. I stumbled, disoriented as I was pulled, my breath catching in my throat. The grip on my wrist was like ice, and a stifling darkness enveloped me. I fought against the pull, twisting and turning. I needed to scream, to break free, but panic had seized my voice. Then, just as suddenly as it began, I was thrown to the ground. I hit the pavement hard, the impact jolting me back to reality. I blinked away to the darkness to regain my bearings. A shadow loomed over me, and my heart raced. I scrambled backward, my hands scraping against the rough concrete as I searched for an escape. The figure remained shrouded in the night, a silhouette etched against the dim light of a nearby street lamp. Who are you? What do you want? I shouted, my voice trembling. There was no answer, only the sound of my own ragged breathing. Then I noticed something glinting near their feet. A phone. The same phone I had. It flickered to life every few seconds, casting small bursts of light that illuminated the space between us. On the screen, a message appeared, "I've been waiting for you." A chill swept through me. It felt like a punch to the gut. I had read those words before, a similar phrase haunting my inbox. The thoughts raced in my mind. How long had this been going on? How did they find me here? I was about to bolt again when the cloaked figure stepped forward out of the shadow. My eyes widened in alarm. The hood fell back, revealing a face I recognized. It was someone from my past. The memories flooded back. We had fallen out years ago after a messy argument. Why would they come for me now? "Why are you doing this?" I asked, my voice cracking. "I thought we were done." Their expression was unreadable, a mix of emotions flickering across their face. "You left, but you never really said goodbye." I felt the world tilt, rage and fear battling for dominance. "This is insane," I shouted. "You can't just what?" Their voice turned cold. "Disappoint you? Leave you? You don't understand what you did to me." I took a step back, fear creeping in again. The street felt like it was closing in. "You don't need to do this. We can talk. Just let me go." But they didn't move, just stood there, eyes locking onto mine, unyielding. My heart raced again, and the urgency washed over me like a tide pulling me under. Then, everything went dark. The streetlights flickered off one by one, plunging me into complete blackness. I couldn't see anything. I stood frozen, every sense heightened, straining to hear any sign of their movement. That's when I felt it, a warm breath against my ear, a whisper like velvet. "You'll never escape me." Panic surged through me, and I turned to run, adrenaline shooting through my veins, willing my legs to move. I couldn't let them catch me again. Not now. Not ever, but the darkness around me was thick, and I had no idea where to go. I stumbled forward, arms flailing, trying to find some sense of direction. My breaths came in shallow gasps, panic fueling my every move. I could hear the night air, but it felt suffocating in the dark. There was no sound, no footsteps behind me, no sign of life at all. I dashed into an alley, hoping to find some cover. The walls pressed in around me, suffocating and claustrophobic. My back hit the cool brick, and I slid down to a crouch, forcing myself to breathe. I searched for my phone in my pocket. If I could just get some light, some reassurance, I would feel better. The screen flickered to life as I pulled it out. The faint glow was a comfort, but it quickly turned to dread. There were dozens of missed messages. Each one was from a number I didn't recognize. My heart sank as I read a few of them. "I know where you are, you can't hide from me, just like old times." What did they want? The realization hit me like a punch. This wasn't just about my past, it was a threat. It felt like the walls around me were coming to life. That I glanced back toward the alley exit. I had to move. I couldn't let them find me. Rising to my feet, I felt my way along the wall, trying to stay quiet. The alley opened up to the opposite street, and I peered out, scanning the shadows for anyone. Just then, I heard footsteps. My heart raced. I darted back into the dark alley, clutching my phone tighter. Whoever was out there was getting closer, and I didn't have anywhere to run. I dropped to the ground, praying for silence. As the footsteps approached, I tried to steady my breath, my heartbeat pounding in my ears. The figure rounded the corner, silhouetted against faint streetlights. It was them. I couldn't make out any features in the dim light, but the familiarity was undeniable. I squeezed my eyes shut, wishing to disappear. "Where are you?" they called out, voice echoing eerily off the brick. "I know you're here." I froze, fear tightening around my chest. They were hunting for me now. A creeping chill ran down my spine as they stepped further into the alley. I needed to think, to find a way out of this nightmare. Then, I felt a vibration. My phone buzzed urgently in my hand. I almost didn't want to look, but I had to. The new message was displayed clearly: "You can't avoid me forever." The figure stepped forward, and I gasped, the noise escaping my lips before I could stop it. They whipped around, eyes locking onto me in the shadows. I scrambled back, eyes wide. In that moment, something clicked in my mind. I remembered the first message I had received months ago, the one that had started all of this. It had said, "I'll make sure we meet again." And now, it felt like the end of a twisted game. Before I could react, they lunged forward with surprising speed. My heart thrummed in my chest as adrenaline took over. I had to move now. But as I turned to flee, the alley cracked like thunder, a sound echoing behind me. I had no idea if it was their voice or something worse. But the urgency to escape was overwhelming. I ran blindly into the night, praying for a way out. The darkness swallowed me as I sprinted down the street, the night air cold against my skin. My heart raced, and adrenaline surged through me. I didn't stop to think about where I was going. I just needed to put distance between me and that figure in the alley. That I turned onto another street, the lights from the storefronts flickering like distant stars. I darted past shadows cast by parked cars and lonely trees. Each footstep echoed in my ears, reminding me of the danger lurking behind me. The echoes bounced around, merging with my thoughts. What did they want from me? Why now? My phone buzzed again. I risked a glance at the screen. Another message: "You've made this easy." I cursed under my breath and shoved it back into my pocket. I couldn't let them track me. I forced myself to think. I needed to find a crowd, a safe space. Just then, I caught sight of a bus stop up ahead. The shelter was illuminated by a flickering light. I sprinted toward it, hoping to blend in with the few people waiting there. As I approached, I could see two figures huddled together, engrossed in conversation. I slowed my pace, but I was still tense, scanning the area for any sign of my pursuer. The bus arrived, a bright, roaring monster in the night. The flood of light made it hard to see beyond the immediate area, but the glow felt like a shield. I quickly climbed aboard, ignoring the driver's questioning look and the stares of the few passengers already on. I could feel them watching me, and I couldn't shake the nerves writhing in my stomach. As the bus pulled away, I settled into a seat at the back. I pulled my phone out again, hoping desperately to find some clue in those messages, anything that could explain who was behind this. The chatter of the other passengers faded into the background as I scrolled through my notifications. Then, I found a name. One message stood out, hidden among the chaotic threads: "I tried to warn you." The sender's name was familiar but sent a chill down my spine. Maya. I hadn't spoken to her in years. Our last conversation had ended badly. I never imagined she would get involved in something like this. The bus rattled on, but my thoughts raced faster. I remembered the times she had tried to help me in the past, the moments when I had dismissed her concerns. What if she had seen something I hadn't? I had to get to her. The urgency of my decision sunk in as I signaled the driver to let me off at the next stop. Stepping onto the pavement, I felt free for the first time since I'd run into that alley. But the sense of relief was short-lived. I glanced down the block to see a figure lingering by a streetlight. Recognition hit me like ice water. It was them. The chill of recognition seeped through me. I turned on my heel, heart racing again. I began to move quickly, but not fast enough as the figure slowly turned and began to approach, their expression hidden in the shadows. Then everything went dark. I jolted awake, the blaring sound of a car horn piercing through the haze of unconsciousness. The world was spinning around me, but I couldn't tell if I was still dreaming or if this was reality. I scrambled to my feet, the cool asphalt beneath me grounding me in the moment. My heart raced as I scanned my surroundings. I was on a street I didn't recognize, the dim light of dawn beginning to break through the darkness. I had fled the cafe but didn't remember how I'd ended up here. My phone buzzed again in my pocket, and I hesitated, fear flooding back. Was it them? Did they follow me? I pulled the device out cautiously, my heart rate intensifying. Where are you? The message read, and I nearly dropped the phone. I forced myself to breathe, desperate for clarity. As I maneuvered through the haze of panic, I noticed a police cruiser nearby, parked with its lights flashing like a beacon. Without a second thought, I rushed toward it, urgency propelling my feet forward. Help! I shouted, my voice hoarse and panicked. The officer stepped out of the vehicle, his expression shifting from confusion to concern as he took in my disheveled appearance. "What's wrong?" he asked, his demeanor professional but gentle. "I need help. I'm being followed." "Stalked," I stammered, my words tumbling over each other. "There's someone who knows me who has been tormenting me. Please." I felt the tremors in my voice, the chill of vulnerability creeping back in. He nodded, motioning for me to get in. "Let us get you to safety and sort this out." As I climbed into the passenger seat, I felt a wave of warmth and protection wash over me. Yet beneath it, a gnawing anxiety lingered. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was still being watched. "What happened?" he prompted as he started driving. I relayed the events, glossing over the details of the figure in the shadows, my past with Maya, the messages that haunted me. The officer listened intently, taking notes as dread twisted in my stomach. We pulled up to the police station, and I stepped out, feeling the weight of security wash over me. As I walked inside, a sense of relief blended with apprehension. I would finally be able to sift through the web of confusion, to explain everything to real authorities, yet, as the officer led me to a room, I received a final text notification. I opened it without thinking, my heart sinking as I read the words, "You think you're safe? I'll always be a part of you." I looked up, the world around me fading. I was safe, yes, yet a deep unease twisted in my gut. What did that even mean? The thoughts flooded my mind. Was this a physical danger, or was it tied to my past, a haunting I couldn't see? Inside the interrogation room, I faced a future of uncertainty. I know I'd escaped the physical threat, but the implications of those words lingered like a shadow in the corners of my mind. I began explaining everything to the officer, yet a piece of me wondered if I would ever truly be free, or if I would always carry the weight of this darkness with me. The questions remained: had I truly escaped, or was my pursuer simply waiting? Would I ever find peace? I didn't know. All I knew was that it had changed me, changed how I viewed the world. I moved forward, but the lingering feeling that something was watching stayed with me, adding a new layer of wariness to my everyday life. And that, perhaps, was the true curse.